Welcome, everybody, to the Reach Out. This is the start of the second season. I have turned the camera so we're looking at the curtains and not the chairs, so it's a big change for this year. I'm here today with Deer Isle Stonington High School alumni, Caleb Hardie. So, hi, Caleb.
Hi.
So, can you tell me first how you got involved in theater?
I started in New Surrey Theater up in Blue Hill. And for my freshman year, I didn't do theater at all. I was getting into fishing and everything, so I was starting getting my own boat and getting my license figured out. So I didn't do anything for after school stuff. And then sophomore year, they had tryouts for the Charlotte's Web play. So I decided I'd audition. Mr. West actually convinced me to audition. He said that I'd be a really good fit. So I'm like, well, why not? I'll try auditioning. And I ended up getting the part of Homer Zuckerman. And I got that part, and I've kind of been in theater ever since. I loved the first show, and then I did the second show, No Rules Were Broken, where I played a parody of you. Kind of jumped from there, and then junior year, I did four shows that year, and then
Yeah, we always start with two, and we never know where it'll end up.
Yeah, because we did the fundraiser for the New York trip, because we went to a few festivals that year too.
Yeah,
we had the Maine one and the New Hampshire one.
Yep.
Then we had a regular festival play.
Yeah, because we take a group of students. There's thespian festivals in each state. Sometimes there's a Northeast festival, and so we had an opportunity to go to a few of those and meet some people and see some shows. It's actually the first time I saw the version of Medea we did.
Yeah, that was the first time too, and then that's when we decided that we were going to do it the next year.
Yeah, but we said,
Medea play.
Let's do this script, but let's do it like Mad Max.
Yeah, that was a cool play. I enjoyed doing that.
Yeah, that was a different role for you too, because you're usually sort of the ham.
Yeah, I have the comedic roles. That's usually what you'd put me in a lot. Is I'd have the more comedic roles or comedic leader roles, I guess. And that was just a total different one. It was a smaller part, but it was also like a really strong part too. He wasn't a comical guy. He was a lord.
Yeah.
The fall show, which was Too Much Light Makes the Baby Go Blind, and then I did a Reach community show, which was the Christmas Carol.
I directed that and played Bob Cratchit.
Yeah, you did. That was such a fun show to do, because remember there was these little screws all throughout the stage, and I had those chains, and I'd found out exactly where those screws were, and I'd slam them off of there.
That was fun, because we hadn't done a community show in a while. Bob was a great Scrooge, and that was a lot of fun to work on.
Yeah, it was really interesting to have people from the community rather than just the high school.
Yeah, we have some trained actors and some non-trained actors and some people who just were like, whatever, I'll give it a try. And
right, and there was some good actors in that show.
My wife was in it.
Yeah, your wife was in it. I remember that.
You had a scene with her, actually.
I did have a scene with her. I had a scene with her and two other ladies. I played Joe, and I was like crook, wasn't I?
Or the guy who's buying the stuff that the women stole from Scrooge after he died. We ended up doing your senior year.
We did Cyrano. My first show was my senior year.
What was your experience on Cyrano?
Well, I had a job at the time, so I was...
You got a job the day after you were cast as Cyrano is actually what happened.
I think that's when my schedule change was. My schedule got changed as soon as I was cast as Cyrano. So we had a lot of people doing different things, and our two practice, like we were going to do the whole play all the way through, was Monday and Friday, and I was working Mondays and Fridays.
You know, we joke still. It's been 2 years, but we still joke about somebody knowing their lines or not knowing their lines on the Caleb Hardie Cyrano scale. But at the same time,
I remember that we have that one scene. It was in the second act, and I skipped every time I'd skip an entire scene. And I was talking about people getting up and playing their instruments, and I had to make it up as I went every time because I never memorized that scene. Then we had that balcony scene, that took a long time to get perfect. And then we had a Friday night showing, and it was on a snowstorm day. And it was our best showing of that scene. Like, we had the best showing of that scene.
That scene with you and Drew and Grace, you know, it's, even though, like I was saying, we joke a little bit about knowing lines or not knowing lines through rehearsal process, like, you guys really buckled down, and it was an example. When Drew the following year did David and Lisa, and he had a ton to memorize, and it's like nonstop. I remember talking to him, being like, "Look, you're further along than Caleb was when he did Cyrano, when he pulled it out." It's like, you're gonna be fine. But that's the thing. Like, ultimately, you were successful doing Cyrano. It's not like it fell on its face. It's not like there were any issues. I mean, you had lines. You were ad-libbing some stuff, and
yeah, but we made it work, right?
yeah. And people and everyone around really knew the show well and were picking you up when you needed it. It's kind of in character for Cyrano to be a little bit loose anyway.
Yeah. At one practice, we were a week before the show. Literally, it was 7 days before we were doing the show. And I was on stage, very first scene, and I was going around making fun of everybody. And I'd forget my lines, and then somebody would be shouting my line this way, and then everybody's memorized my lines except for me, but that seems to be what happens anyway.
Somebody was playing your part all the time, so they all
literally anybody could have been a backup for me in that show.
And I remember they were getting angry with you one day, but it was kind of like getting scared straight a little bit. Like, sometimes you need that.
Yeah.
Oh, right, I need to buckle down and get this done.
Yeah, that's what we did. We did it.
And you're right, that balcony scene was really top notch.
Yeah, we got that perfected. That was the scene that we had to work the most on, especially in the last 7 days, because actually all three of us had a little bit more of a tough time with that scene.
So in that scene, the guy who's interested in the girl is being fed lines by Cyrano, what to tell her. And then you end up talking on his behalf. So sometimes you're feeding him lines, sometimes you're talking in his place. And got the blocking is important because she can't see you, and she's on another level, and so it's a little bit complicated in terms of the blocking, and that's one where the lines really need to be on point, because the lines rely on all of that being really well hashed out, and so you guys, I think, pretty immediately were like, this is the scene that we need to make sure is just right.
Yeah.
And it worked. It really worked.
Did.
And so then we did Attached.
That was just fun altogether. I mean, I originally was going to go for a demon part, and then I thought, and I was like, you know what, this is my senior year. This is the last show I will do with the Reach, other than maybe a community show if you guys do that again. Mm-hmm. And so I went for the dad part. I played the father of the household, and that was just a really fun show. And it was more of an ensemble piece.
Yeah,
it was just a really fun show, and then we had a really good, really strong show over at Festival.
It's funny about that show too, and people who thought that I wrote that with everybody in mind, like, this is this person and this is this person,
right?
But the fact of the matter
is, from No Rules Were Broken, you already had people in mind.
That was different. Yeah, so when I wrote that play, we were gonna do something else, and so I already had a cast.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, I know everyone who's in this show, so I'll just write a play that it uses everybody. And so, like, Mason, who was just starting out at that time, had a part that was smaller but used his skills well, so I was able to write it for that. But with Attached, people were kind of coming and going in terms of who was going to actually be able to be in a show and who wasn't. So when I sat down and wrote that thing, it was really just like, I'm just going to write a play, and we'll let the pieces fall where they may. And like you said early on, I actually had it in my head going into auditions because of conversations I had with you after your experience in Cyrano and being like, I don't want to get overwhelmed. But then, like you said, you were like, you know what, it's my last show. I really just want to do it up, so I'll take any part. And you said that at auditions. So I had in my head you in the pool of people that might play the lead of the demon family. And then you moved into these other pools. You could have played this, you could have played that. And
Ella and I actually auditioned together in that. And we both played mom and dad, so.
Yeah, and then, sometimes, like, they just fall into place, and you guys do such a nice job of performing it that it feels like I have written it for you.
Right, even though you've written the show and then did the audition, so.
Yeah. I also have some really great memories from the 2 New York trips you went on.
Those were an experience of a lifetime. I mean, it was just really cool to see. We went to Broadway and everything. We saw the Blue Man Group my senior year. We saw School of Rock my junior year, and we also saw a college show in Rhode Island.
Yeah, we saw Beauty and the Beast.
It was just an experience of a lifetime. Both those experiences were just, I mean, if anybody has the chance to go and they're in theater, definitely take it.
Yeah, we were talking about maybe exploring Portland, Maine a little bit, or maybe doing a little bit New Hampshire, or maybe as far as like DC or something, or Boston. But I will say that if it's going to have been a couple of years since we went, we'll probably just do New York again, because that is such a unique experience. I as fun as the shows are, and I mean Beetlejuice was just like a marvel to behold. I really love that show, but some of the stuff that we were doing, tooling around New York City and exploring the parks, and
Like seeing that, we stopped and saw that group that was just hassling everybody for money, but they did it in such a cool way. That it was fun.
yeah. So there was definitely a little bit of a hustle, but it was also like
It was a whole show, and
they
at
were,
the end, it was just
yeah, it was like you're paying for a show, yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, some people kind of get conned out of $20, but you know what? It's like the price of admission.
Well, they probably made $1,000 off that show anyways. People would be donating $100 so they wouldn't have to go stand in that circle where the guy went and jumped over everybody.
But it was
That was
entertaining.
the grand finale, so
Yeah, it was entertaining. They do a good job.
it's something you don't see every day, and that's what I mean. Like you get a different experience in a different state and everything. I mean, you don't see that kind of stuff around here, street performers and that sort of thing. Just the entertainment that you have there, you don't have here.
Yeah.
And that's why it's just such a once in a lifetime New York is.
Mm-hmm.
Rhode Island too. I mean, that was fun too. We went to a place that you used to work at. You worked at like a movie theater complex type deal.
Yeah, Cinema World, CW Lanes and Games. And I worked there for 7 years when I got back from LA. But anyway, so we went there. Yeah, they have a bowling alley restaurant down there in Lincoln, Rhode Island. And so
it's literally the size of the Bangor Mall. And it's
yeah.
bowling alley.
And so my friends, I told my friends Dino and Jim that we were coming down. They were like, yeah, we'll take care of you guys. And they did. They're really good people.
Because that was like 2 trips into one, because we did the Rhode Island thing, and then we went up to New York in a school bus.
Fod drove the school bus, yeah, and he became like our unofficial chaperone.
He did
awesome.
too.
It was so
He
awesome.
went with us everywhere.
I get so happy when I see he's driving a bus when we're going somewhere. I actually sometimes, because I have to drive the U-Haul to like festival, when Fod's the bus driver and I have to drive in the U-Haul behind, I'm like, oh man, I don't get to hang out with Fod for an hour. He's the best.
Yeah, he is.
So since you graduated from here, what have you been doing?
Once I went to college, I've worked in the summer before I went to college, and then I went to college, and my plan was to start up a theater group and in the college, and I had everything approved through the school and everything, and I was going to do the attached play with the school, and I had people that were saying, oh yeah, I'd be interested in that. And then I held auditions for 2 days. The first day, 1 person showed up, and then the next day, 2 people showed up. So it didn't work out that year. I wanted to try it again the last semester, but I was an RA. I just didn't have time, and then we had the pandemic that started shortly after that, so we had to pack up and go home.
Yeah, you might find, like, if you find a show that has like 3 or 4 people in it that you are passionate about doing, you might have better luck than a show that needs like 9 or 10.
Yeah.
Starting a small group.
Yeah.
But what are you studying in school?
I'm in restaurant management. I was originally in electrical, but I didn't really enjoy that career path. I did it originally because I wanted the money sounded pretty good, but I worked in restaurants for last 5 years, and I decided that I'd go down the restaurant management career, and that's what I've been in ever since.
You've been working on the island during COVID.
Yep, I've been working over at the store and the restaurant down at Stonecutters.
Yep.
And it's been an interesting year there too with the pandemic and everything.
That's hard.
But I'm hoping once everything's all situated, maybe when we stop having cases and everything, you'll do another Reach community show eventually.
Well, yeah, I think that's actually, not to get ahead of any announcements or anything, but I think that we need to have like a celebratory event when the restrictions are lifted.
Yeah.
And I think doing a big honkin', maybe even a musical, I don't know, but some big community event that really uses this place the way it was meant to be used and kind of breathes life back into it a little bit, I think is definitely going to be in the cards.
I just feel bad for the seniors this year because the festival doesn't happen. They're missing out on their senior year, and I just couldn't imagine that.
I think back to my senior year, and I'm sure you do too. Mine was a few years before yours, and
you.
and I can't imagine the frustration I would have if those experiences were wiped away.
Yeah.
And I know that we all make do with what we got, and we do the best we can, and we're trying to take care of each other. So I'm not in any way advocating for not being safe, but it wouldn't make it any easier if I was a kid, a young adult who's been working towards this culminating year. And now this culminating year has asterisks all over it because you can't do all the things you want to do.
Yeah, you never know what the future is going to bring.
Yeah.
So definitely feeling it for the seniors. Hope that they'll at least have something for festivals so they can have a last hurrah before their senior year is over.
Yeah, and so we just did some David Ives shows down in Stonington outdoors with the microphones, and that was successful. But if we're looking at the spring, we might not go the microphone route. We might instead do more traditional outdoor play. I just want to make sure that whatever it is a full experience for them. And if we can't do a festival show, or they just decide if it's not competitive, that they would rather do something different, then I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that they have a chance to do something memorable.
Right. Can you guys do shows in the Reach right now with like 6 foot social distancing or no?
No, right now the Reach is, I can have classes in here a little bit. So I have desks spaced out. When the kids come, they bring shields, and I have like one group per day, every other day. I've been doing Shakespeare with 5th graders. And I'm going to be doing it with 4th and 3rd graders next. So I've basically been doing a group. They come in and do a class for a bit, and then we clean everything down and they leave. But because the seats are cloth, they don't want us really using the seating much.
Yeah, they're tougher to clean and everything, yeah.
Yeah, and so I've basically been going to classrooms to do my teaching.
Yeah, have you had a chance to clean up the Reach a little bit now that you...
Yeah, it's always spick and span in here. I know what you're talking about.
I remember my internship that year, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna clean the Reach. Everything's gonna be organized in here. I got into the green room, and that was about it. That's about all I did.
And then one show happens, and you have 30 kids coming through, and
yeah. Well, I was gonna work on it. Well, you were on leave you were having your baby at the time, whatever kid you were on at that moment. And I was gonna clean the Reach, but I actually ended up taking over just about all of your classes.
That's right. Yep. Kind of learning what my job was.
Mm-hmm.
When I went on leave, I just left
headache.
Classes. What's that?
A headache. That's what your job is a headache.
So there would be an adult in the room that would come with the kids,
yep.
But you actually taught those classes. It was pretty cool. You learned what it's like to be on the other side of the desks.
Yeah, I was gonna do like mini shows with all the classes. Like I had it all planned out and everything, but we ended up doing a lot of exercises that were types of games. There was a bench game that we'd play a lot, and we'd learn about projection, and then it was games that you had taught me how to play.
Park bench, which is an game, and the hitchhiker game.
Yeah. Well, that's the best way to teach young kids about theater, projection, that sort of thing, is through games, because that's how you get them to focus through that, just playing fun games.
Yeah, in getting kids comfortable. And I honestly think the biggest hurdle for middle schoolers especially is that thing of like, my friends are going to think I'm dumb.
Yeah.
Right? And so really just being willing to be silly, like just trying to let kids let loose. And some kids have no problem with that.
Yeah.
Arts Week.
Arts Week was fun. We started that my sophomore year. We didn't do it my freshman year. You and a couple other people decided to start off Arts Week, and it was the first year, so it was a little rough, but then the years went on. And actually, you know what, that week went on, the first week that we did it, and people started to enjoy it and stuff. And
oh yeah, it's really funny. So when you say to a high school, you're going to have no classes and you're just going to work on a play for a week, you have some kids that are like, understandably, that's not what I do, right?
Yeah.
And there was a lot of resistance on Monday, and there was some on Tuesday. But then by the time there was the people that were resistant on Wednesday is kind of when we turned the corner, and a lot of the other students were like, just do it. Like, why are you making a big deal out of this? Like, it's kind of fun. And then, so I would say every year we've had less people that are resistant.
My senior year was the best one for that. I kind of took a leadership role in that.
But you did. But what I also thought was really cool is you didn't take a leadership role in terms of casting yourself as the biggest thing.
Right. No, I casted myself. I think I was just Donald Trump. That's the only thing I was. Yeah.
At the Deer Isle toll booth?
At the Deer Isle toll booth, not letting anybody through. And Eliza and I worked on writing that show, and literally everybody had their own role, and they did so well at it that year. Jaden Porter was my guy in the wood shop, and anytime I go in there, I'd be like, hey, I need this built. He'd have it done by the end of the day.
Yep.
He'd have a crew of people in there, and he was like, he took the lead of.
People found their spot, and not everybody, but people started to be like, oh, wait, so this is a week where I get to build stuff for different people, or this is the week where I get to like run lights, or this is, so people found their spot even if it wasn't on stage. But that show you did in particular, which was basically Wizard of Oz on Deer Isle.
Wizard of Deer Isle.
Yeah.
That was fun.
You cast a couple of people in the biggest roles that weren't at all actors, and it was so effective.
Yeah.
And
I think none of the main characters were like actors with the reach.
Yeah, I think Eliza was the closest to being one.
Yeah, she was the largest.
The largest part, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I have a lot of memories of a lot of the different shows, but I remember when that one finished being like, this is the best Arts Week show we've had. You made that mix of hitting the theme, which I think that year was it How Do We Form Our Identity?
Yeah.
Yep. And
Dorothy was trying to find her identity, so we covered that.
And so she was going to different places on the island, and I thought you guys did a perfect job of marrying the theme, comedy, getting people who don't normally perform to get up on stage and star, and it just was really, really, really effective.
Thursdays on Arts Week, that you're getting everything together and getting everything situated, making sure everybody's being loud enough on stage. And speaking to having people be loud enough on stage, we did have a little bit of trouble with that my senior year, but I got you to come into our classroom, and you did a projection exercise with all of us.
That was an example of you solving a problem, though, because you knew the one thing that was going to hinder that show being effective was that some people were not projecting enough because they weren't trained actors.
Right.
And so you said, hey, is there any way you can come in and just do a couple exercises and loosen them up? And so I went in and did what I would do with you guys. I was just like, let's just have fun and remember to have a good time, and just worked with them on understanding what level of volume you're going to need to be heard. And they did a good job in the actual show.
Yeah, you were the person that taught me all about projection. I started out by just yelling on the stage, and it's not so much yelling on the stage. It's using your stomach and bringing it out. So it doesn't sound like you're yelling. It just sounds like people in the audience can hear you, and it doesn't sound like you're yelling at all because you can project and whisper at the same time. Like, especially through those exercises, the sitting in solemn silence on a dull, dark rock.
You're close.
Yeah, something like that. In a pestilential
prison. Dull, dark dock in a pestilential prison with a lifelong lock, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, that
I
one.
actually teach that to the K2 kids. I've been working with the little kids this year on projection and enunciation because they're wearing masks.
Yeah.
You'll have a kid sitting in the back of the class who's constantly like, and
it's almost the best way to teach projection, though, is have those masks on.
Yeah. And it's not their fault, right? They're doing what they would normally do to be heard, but there's a layer in between their voice and you.
Right.
And so learning how to compensate when you're on the stage and you're projecting, you project a different way than if you're in the gym and you're having to project, which is different.
You have to change it depending on the acoustics. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And in the situation you're in. And so in a classroom, you're used to speaking at a certain level, and now you need to change that.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things I've been going into the K2 classes, and it's a constant, even if we were not specifically playing a game about that, I'll always say, and remember, you need to project so that everybody in the room can hear you. And it's a constant sort of a thing. Those theater skills that come in handy in other things in life,
Yeah. Well, it's like when during Arts Week, I'd purposely bring the crew into the gym because your voices just get swallowed in the gym. Yep. You have to speak even louder in the gym. And I'd have Jessie Gordon go and sit up on the top bleacher as far away from the cast as she can, and she'd scream, "I can't hear you." And I think they really did a solid job. I mean, everyone on that stage was heard at the actual showing on the Friday night showing to the community.
I actually almost screwed that show up.
You did?
So I don't know if you remember. So you guys had a whole bunch of stuff to prep backstage. And so I would go out before every show and talk to the crowd and say, in the next show we're going to see is this group,
Yeah.
So I was in the back, and I told some people stage left to let me know when to go out. And I guess stage right over here, they just sent out
Willie.
Whoever was acting.
I saw that on the YouTube video.
And so they had started the scene, the first two lines, and I just walk out from the curtain and start talking. And I stand next to them, and I can't remember who it was. There's two actors standing on the stage. And I realized as I'm standing there that they had begun the scene.
Yeah, it was Lily on the bench and then Zach in the corner. Yeah.
So I just walked out and was like, oh, okay, it looks like we're starting, and I just left.
No, it didn't mess it up at all though. They came right back from that. So yeah. Stay off my stage, John. You know?
All right. So the last thing we're going to do is I'm going to ask you these questions. They come from inside the actor's studio. The host, James Lipton, would always ask them of the actors, and I've got an abbreviated version of them. So the first one is, what is your favorite word?
You're going to cut out the silence here, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Or not.
You're just gonna put the full bit interview just like this on there. Oh dear, what's my favorite word, John? I really don't know. I'm trying to think of something I say a lot. I think wonder would be my favorite word.
That's a good one. Do you have a least favorite word?
I don't like the word moist. That's not my favorite.
I think that's common. I think if you polled the entire world, I think that would come up in a top 3 or so. When it comes to the performing arts, what interests you?
Well, like I had said before, it's just a different way of showing who you are, and it just teaches you who you are as a person, who you want to be. So that's what I like about performing arts.
So then, other than refusing to hang up your costume, what does not interest you about the performing arts?
I hate lighting.
Doing it or having to deal with it?
And dealing with it's not very fun either, because when we were at festival, any festival you go to, we'd be in the middle of the scene. You're like, all right, you want to switch that one over to that light? And I'd be like, can we just finish the scene? I'm tired of this scene already. So I hate lighting. I also hate it when you stop us in the middle of the show and move us around or tell us what we're doing wrong. But it needs to be done. So everything I hate needs to be done.
You hate when the director directs?
Yeah. I'd like to do my scene and then you tell me what's going on afterwards.
That's actually a fair note.
Yeah, but if you don't do it during the show and you just wait till after the scene, we'll be like, wait, what part? What part are you talking about here?
And I do that once the show's really going. I wait to give notes.
Exactly, yeah. Like if we're like a few days away from the show, you wait till the end of the show and then give us our notes, and you write it down on a piece of paper and you can't even read your own handwriting.
That's true. It's a true statement.
But no, it irritates me at the same time. We need it done. That way we can perfect the scenes and then the scenes within the scenes.
Yeah, and I try to give you guys a lot of freedom to do things. And then there are just times where I think because you're not seeing it from the outside, you just don't realize that this is what's happening for the audience.
Well, you've never told us, I don't want you to say it like, you've never said that, like, I don't want you to say it like this. You give us the freedom of saying it how we want to say. You just want to make sure it gets heard, make sure we're standing in the right spot and that sort of thing. I mean, sometimes if we're just we're doing an accent or something and you're like, it just doesn't really work, like the attached play when we were trying to figure out what the voice should be for the demon parents.
Yes, right. Yeah, because the tone has to be right.
Yeah. So we it took forever to try to figure out what tone.
Yeah, and a lot of times, because the thing I try to have everyone remember, it's not like I have the right answer and everybody else
John knows all answers.
Right, but it's that there's multiple correct ways to do it.
Yeah.
And it's a matter of finding the one that's most honest for the people who have to perform it, because I'm not ultimately the one that has to get up there and do it.
Right. Yeah. If we're gonna do something, you want us to be confident with it.
Yeah. Well, it should be yours. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
What sound or noise do you love?
Now you're asking me the hard questions again.
Yep.
I really like the sound of foam, like foam pieces being run over by a car. It's weird, but it's true.
Okay.
Like they'll have these foam blocks, and it's like these satisfying videos, and they'll have a tire running them over, so it runs them over really slowly, and they're just satisfying videos to watch. So that's my favorite noise, is hearing not like styrofoam, but like foam that you can break apart, like a red foam, and that's my favorite noise.
I don't think I've ever heard anyone give that answer.
Yeah, I'm trying to give something different.
And what sound or noise do you hate?
ASMR.
Yep, that's fair.
Hate it. Absolutely hate it. Sounds like somebody's trying to eat the whole time with their mouth open on camera.
Well, sometimes that's what it is.
It's just always irritating me because my brother listens to it sometimes, and different things relax people and everything.
Sure.
And I hear it, I'm like, oh,
I can't remember the first time someone mentioned that years ago, and I was like, "What are you talking about?" And someone played a video, and I was like, "So this is a thing, huh? This is a thing that people are actually
so annoying.
ASMR." Look
For some people, but I absolutely hate it.
So my last question for you is, if you could go into any career and do anything without any restrictions on, the cost or how much money you could make or whatever, what would you want to do?
My answer would be acting, but acting is it's a tough thing to get into because nothing's ever guaranteed. So I would say acting on Broadway beside the guy who plays Beetlejuice. And I know that sounds kind of cliche considering I'm a theater interview, but yeah, that's what it is. That's what I'd want to be. Guaranteed I'd do it in a heartbeat.
I'll tell you what, there's a lot of people I know that act and they're working restaurants on the side, so you've got half of it down.
Well, that's what I'm going to school for, and I could do theater on the side too. So
yeah,
maybe someday you'll take your kids over to Broadway and I'll be sitting there, main character. I'll get you guys all free tickets and everything.
Well, thank you. So you could do, Caleb.
Except for you.
You can sit in the back.
Very last row, and you could drink that $20 soda too.
No discount. I don't get a coupon.
No coupon.
Oh man. All right. Well, this has been a lot of fun. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, no problem. I think I might have surpassed every single other person. An hour-long interview.
Yeah, we'll see how long it ends up when I cut out me fumbling questions.
And me fumbling answers. Yeah, you probably got 2 minutes of good.
No, I think this will be on the long side. All right.
All right. Yeah, it was good talking to you, John.
Yeah, you too.
All right.
Thank you for watching. If you'd like to donate to the Reach Performing Arts Center, you can hit the link attached to this post and visit our PayPal site. You can also send a check to the Reach Performing Arts Center at 249 North Deer Isle Road, Deer Isle, Maine 04627. Please like us on Facebook and Instagram, and hopefully we'll see you soon at the Reach.